one of my favorites. I just learned I'm working with him next Monday when I'm doing the two-a-day, doing the show on Monday here, and then going to the NFL Network as part of the hosting of the Free Agency Frenzy on NFL Network starting at 4 Eastern time. Maurice Jones-Drew, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. You know what? I have to say this. The last time I came, first of all, it's been far too long.
Okay.
The last time I came, there was there was none of that. Roku, there was no YouTube TV.
Yeah.
But growing like a weed over here, I see.
You know, I'm just trying to cultivate this caper.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's all I'm doing.
That's why you're double dipping on Monday.
That's what
I like it.
I'm double dipping. And so you and I are going to be sitting there as everything starts to break. And then we were talking about that off the air. And Chris, you're saying stuff's already popping. What do you got over there? What do you got over there?
There's a lot going on.
We got for us to chew on. Give me something good.
Oh, well,
like what?
I don't have anything.
What are you talking about? You were just talking in the commercial break about stuff that's happening.
I closed the window, so now I'm like bebopping
I was
around.
listening on YouTube TV in the back.
No, you were listening on the Roku channel.
Oh, the Roku
stream.
channel.
Yes, that's what you're listening in the back.
Yeah, that's what I was listening to in the back.
Yes.
Odell Beckham's workout.
Yes.
Now, first, let me say this. First and foremost, Odell, thank you very much. Because without you, I wouldn't have got my first Super Bowl ring, and I appreciate that. But that is going to be an interesting thing because I think whatever team gets him, he's going to open up your offense so much more. He still has that ability to take slants to the house, short passes. You saw that with the Rams, all on a hurt knee. That was on a bad knee. Mm-hmm. So now his knee's good. I think that's going to be one of the first kind of dominoes to fall, which will kind of you'll see where they're going.
Okay. And again, so folks understand, I literally had to sit here and go, Jacksonville didn't win a Super Bowl. No. Raiders didn't win a Super Bowl. And I get it. As a member of the Rams broadcast team, you have a ring.
Oh, a big one. And a number and everything. Looks like a player.
Really?
Yeah. So 20 years from now, my grandkids, I'll be like, hey, listen, Pop, he won one back in the day, 2021.
You were a factor.
Yeah.
You were calling it.
Put it out there, man. Had to put it in the universe.
I like it.
It's just part of it.
All right. So Odell, Dallas would be a good spot. Give me a spot. Anybody would be a good spot.
Well, I think, and I don't think this will happen, but imagine if he went to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Just imagine that.
Well, people are going to flock, right?
Oh, I mean, I would. I'd go to Kansas City, want to play with Mahomes and an offense that's wide open, and you can kind of you have a quarterback that can do different things. And
right.
That would be nice. Dallas obviously is a big one. I think it'll help them more just because I know McCarthy wants to run the ball a little bit more, but having that ability to just throw a quick hitch out there, CeeDee Lamb can do it. Obviously, Odell can do it, and those guys can take it to the house. Makes you a little bit more dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Your Jets?
The
Jets should be spending. Are we spending big with the Jets? Are we going all in on Rodgers, or are we going to kind of Rodgers and some other pieces?
Well, they need other pieces. Do you think last year, if Aaron Rodgers was on the Jets last year, they would have won the Super Bowl? They'd have beaten they'd have knocked the Chiefs off and then gone and beaten the Eagles. Do you think so?
I don't know if they'd have won the Super Bowl, but they'd have sure made the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, anything can happen. I mean, we saw that with the Jags.
So you can't sit here and say anything can happen, but they wouldn't make the Super Bowl because that's it.
No, so
that's why I'm saying they need more pieces.
Yeah.
I do love the young Turks, who are Sauce and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and Quinnen Williams and the rest of those young kids that they're growing up. And that's the whole question is like, it's now Friday, 1:00 Eastern time in New York City. 72 hours have passed since they've broken they broke bread. Like what's?
Yeah, I heard they were in Malibu. I'm a little upset that I didn't, get
Do you know
the
place that they went to?
Lucky's. I've never been. I'm more of a.
You're unlucky.
I wouldn't say I just like to hang out in my little area. Okay. I don't like to kind of go too far away.
Aaron doesn't strike me as a guy who leaves his area either.
Yeah, so he's in a nice area with some nice restaurants.
So what do you think? You think it's a fit? Or
I think it's a great fit. To me, when you have a young quarterback like Zach Wilson and you have this team that's built and ready to go, you may need some pieces on the O-line, but really other than that, I feel like secondary, you added Clark from the Ravens. You've kind of added some small pieces along the way. If you get that quarterback to fit into that, and be that final piece to fit in, anything can happen. Now, the thing is, in the AFC, you have to have a guy, right? If you look at all the quarterbacks, there's you have obviously Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Trevor Lawrence. You have Herbert,
Russ.
You have Lamar Jackson. You have Deshaun Watson with the Browns, who kind of came on at the end of the year. You have Russ. Like, all of a sudden, you have to have a quarterback in the AFC to contend, and Rodgers has been in the NFC where, you're playing more team fits like the Niners or even with the Eagles before Jalen Hurts, they had a really good team and Jalen Hurts was that final piece. So it's going to be challenging, especially in the AFC East with what Miami's doing down there, the Bills, what they're doing. And then, Bill Belichick finally went out and got him an OC now to go help his young quarterback out. So it's going to be a challenging season. But if the Jets want to contend, Rodgers is the answer.
Well, especially since, again, if you want to keep talking about how deep in the AFC quarterback pool is, you take a look at the draft, you have to think, if you do like the kids that we saw spin it at the Combine or Bryce Young who didn't spin it at the Combine, if you do like them, you're thinking Texans, Colts, Raiders, 3 more teams are going to get young kids who might turn into one of them as well. I mean, the pool gets deeper and deeper and deeper, but I have to, before moving on, ask, why did you make that face when I mentioned Russell Wilson?
I think...
Come on.
In all honesty, I've watched Russell Wilson. Last year I said I thought Derek Carr was better than Russell Wilson, and people jumped all over me. And when you watch his tape and when you study him, and which I had to do with calling the games with the Rams, he misses a lot of his first reads.
Russ
does. And
the current Russ, or even the back in the day Russ?
Even the back in the day Russ. He would, like, when they would throw the ball, he would go to like an improvising role where he'd scramble all around and throw the ball, and we'd highlight that. But it's hard to win that way consistently. Now, they kind of built an offense around that, and they worked on the scramble drill a ton. But when you're in Denver and you don't have those same pieces of those same receivers that understand your play, you're going to struggle. And I tried to make that as clear as day, not being a hater, but just off of what I've seen. And then we saw that, right? We saw him struggle throughout the season. Now, they got better as the season went on, and that's awesome. But in crunch time, there were times against the Colts where he had a chance to win the game. Right? And you're reading the coverage right. There's a man side and a zone side. He started on the wrong side. And there's other plays throughout the season. And so my hope is that when Sean Payton gets there, that you have Javonte Williams. You start to run the ball, kind of what he did with Drew Brees, and then you open it up off a play-action pass, and then you simplify things for him a little bit.
And so he's got the right coach. You'd agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
And I think the coach made a great decision not allowing him to have all his guys at practice.
And his office.
I think that's a great decision. I don't think those are things conducive to winning.
Especially since the office was on the second floor. It wasn't on the floor with the locker room. He was like management. Like if you went to go see, like his door may have been open,
right?
But the door wasn't the locker. His actual locker. The door was upstairs. I
understand, and I understand why he wanted to have that, because he wants to watch tape and study. But that's what you have the quarterback room for. Right? The quarterback room is for you to do those things, because you should be doing that with the other quarterbacks and talking through things in the game plan. You should have, like, those are the type of things, at least when I came up, that's what guys were doing. You were doing it in the quarterback room, not in your own personal office, which it kind of separates you from the team. And so if things were going well, I don't think we'd have been a big issue. But as soon as things start going downhill a little bit, you start to see that poke out, right? Then you start hearing about his quarterback coach being at practice and him working with them onto the side. And he had his own trainer there. You just kind of remove yourself from the team. This is a team sport. If you want to be an individual, go play golf, tennis. Those are individual sports, swimming, right?
It's a team sport as well.
If you're in the medley, but if
you could be. If he's in a football medley, maybe that's what he's thinking.
I don't think that works.
Maurice Jones-Drew here, my NFL Network colleague and Los Angeles Rams broadcaster here on the Rich Eisen Show. Lamar, would you flip 2 ones and pay him
in a heartbeat, fully guaranteed?
Fully. Seriously?
Yeah, take it
in a heartbeat.
In a heartbit. It wouldn't even hesitate. But I know
the way that the last 2 seasons have ended doesn't concern you.
Doesn't concern me one bit.
Why?
Were you in? Remember when the Rams a couple years ago went to Los Angeles? They played the Rams. The Rams were kind of hot, and
went to Baltimore. You mean?
No, Baltimore came to here
Yeah.
and they played in the Coliseum. It was a couple of years ago. When I saw him then, that was his MVP year.
Yeah,
and I was at 24,
2019.
Yeah, or 23 or 24 years old he was.
Yeah,
the best player I've ever seen in my life. 4th and 4, they go for it, and he gets 6 yards.
Yes.
Like, scrambled, had a 30-yard run, threw the ball well.
Yes.
And he's only gotten better throwing the ball every year after that. Now, I know he's missed some games, and that's going to happen with his style of play. And as a coach and as an owner of a team, our job is to coach around that to make sure we keep him healthy. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, that's an exceptional talent. And we just talked about it. In order for the AFC to go, to have a chance, you got to have one of those guys, and this one guy comes available in his prime, I'm going to make it work. I'll figure it out.
If you're the Falcons, you flip the 8th overall pick for him right now.
Right now.
And next year's first.
Well,
and pay him $230 million guaranteed dollars and have every owner in the league look at you and say, what are you doing?
Trying to win.
Got it.
That's what I want to do. Winning cures everything.
You're the Carolina Panthers. You do the same thing, 9th overall pick.
Oh, yes.
Raiders, 7th overall pick.
We just let go of a guy that we were given X amount of dollars to, so yeah, I'm going to do that too.
Okay. You're the Colts, 4th overall pick.
Yep, I do that with the Colts too.
Okay, if you're okay,
if I was the Bears, if the Bears, I would
exactly.
If I was the Bears and I get an opportunity, now I don't think that would work out because I'm sure Lamar wouldn't want to go there because they're trying to build their roster. But even if I'm the Bears and I have Justin Fields and I've seen what he could do, I'm still going to trade him a first round pick. And
you trade the first overall pick.
Oh yeah,
and not trade down and maybe make a killing and get first over the next few years. I'm seriously. This is because this is part and parcel of the conversation that we're having. Just all things being equal, I get the 2019 Lamar, I get the 2020 Lamar, not the Lamar the last 2 years that he got hurt. I don't have to give up 2 firsts, and I don't have to pay him every last guaranteed dollar. Then I'm all in.
Right.
If I have to give up. Pay him every last guaranteed dollar. Now I'm having a hitch in my giddy up, and I have to now give up 2 ones. I'm now walking to the altar. I'm not running to the altar. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
So it's not all things being equal. And if you're the Chicago Bears, you're giving up the ability to trade down once, if not twice.
No question.
Get a bunch of picks to supplement your guy that you already know, as opposed to just blowing up every plan that Ryan Poles may have had. So that's why I'm kind of pushing back right here with you're easily just saying, absolutely, I give up that stuff.
The reason I say that is there's no one in college, even Caleb Williams at USC.
Yes, sir.
Is clear. It was not even close to what Lamar was when he was in college or where Lamar is now as a player. And so that's how you look at it. It's like, okay, is this guy in the draft? Like when the Rams gave up 3 first rounds for Matthew Stafford,
yes, their
thought process was, could we get a Matthew Stafford in the draft in any of these situations? No. So this makes more sense to go get it. And even if I'm the Chicago Bears, this is again no disrespect to the players that are on Baltimore, but they probably have a better receiving core in Chicago than Baltimore has. If you're talking about just pure receivers.
Careful, Rashad Bateman.
I know he was very upset. He was hurt this year. He had a great year, but he got hurt. Mm-hmm. So they're using Duvernay, Robinson, who they got from the Chiefs.
Maurice Jones-Drew. I called the Week 15 game between the Ravens and the Browns, and I was in commercial break, staring at the ceiling, talking to the football gods, praying for a first down, if not a point on the board.
And that's what. And so, if he's able to, win with that.
Okay.
If I have a little bit more, he should be able to win. He should be able to do much better. And I think, and as the Ravens, they understand this, and we're having this conversation. And I was on Total Access with Mike Garafolo, and I was like, don't give me the Garafolo answer, give me the Jeezy answer. Like, let's be honest, the Baltimore, whoever negotiates with Lamar, Baltimore's going to match. Because why would you let this guy walk? It makes no sense. It literally makes zero sense to let a homegrown talent that you drafted 32nd overall, that has been one of the most wingest quarterbacks since he's been drafted in the league,
yes,
most dynamic players, and you build an offense around him to let him leave and someone else get him. I'm just not going to do that.
Unless you look at one of these kids at the combine and you could get a first-round selection and choose one of them and start from scratch.
Neither one,
and not pay somebody all that money. They're already, Maurice. They're already. Again, this is a devil's advocate thing because, as you know, I've been reading a lot of these responses to the videos that we've put out based on the conversations we've had. That I've made a heel turn on Lamar. That I've loved every single thing about him. I just have some spidey sense going off about why he didn't finish the season.
Right.
Where was he in Cincinnati? I would need to have every question answered before I went and guaranteed every dollar in his contract.
No question.
So that's why, again, this is not an all things being equal. Would I want the 2019 Lamar or the Lamar of say, that game against the Bills this year that they wound up losing at the end? No, the game against the Dolphins, I think, that they wound up losing at the end. He looked like the MVP of the season in the first month of the year. So that's my whole wind-up of saying that maybe, just maybe, you would start from scratch and have to pay all that money.
That's going to be a tough deal to do, though.
And go for it in that respect. But they do love him,
I agree. My thing is this: the longer you wait, the more expensive he gets. Burrow's up this year; he'll be getting the deal done this year. Jalen Hurts will get one. Herbert will get one. That's 3 dudes who are all going to be in the 50, 60 million a year deal. The longer you wait, the more expensive he gets. And if he isn't your guy, trade him. Don't give him the nod. Like, go and trade him if you don't believe that he's your guy, because this is what the biggest thing. I remember being in 2007. We went to the playoffs. 2008, we hit free agency. We paid 2 guys in 2008, and we had like 5 guys in our locker room that we didn't pay, and kind of fractured our locker room a lot. Not kind of, it did that year, because you went outside of it. And as players, we know guys that deserve to get paid, right? Because you see them every day in practice. You know their skill set. To me, the longer this takes, the chances are you're fracturing your locker room. And then the chances are you're going to have to pay more in the long run anyways, because what if he does the Kirk Cousins deal, right, where he plays on this tag and he plays on the next tag? Now you're going to have to give him a fully guaranteed contract. And then let me put this notion out there, because I've tried to put it out there a little bit. Yes. Everyone's upset with the Browns about the fully guaranteed deal.
They're already redoing it. That's the whole point. That was I kind of lost my place a little bit. The Browns are already asking Deshaun Watson to restructure.
Oh no, yeah.
And I think he's entertaining it, right, Chris? Didn't we hear that out of Cleveland?
Mary Kay reported that.
So the deal that apparently Lamar is holding out for, and the Ravens refuse to give, Cleveland is already 1 year in. Wondering if it's workable.
They had to get him first, right?
Yes.
Mahomes does the same thing with his deal. Every year he restructures.
Got it.
And whatever that means to
Truly, so it's not an outlier.
It's not. Everyone does it when you get paid that money. But I think when you talk about Lamar and what he's been able to do, and what I was going with is the Vikings are the one that kind of started this precedent with Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
Right? You give Kirk Cousins 2 fully guaranteed deals.
It was 3 years, $84 million.
Right.
And then Watson pushed it up 5 to $230.
Yeah.
With all sorts of other garbage that the Browns overlooked, placed aside.
No question. And so if you're Lamar, you don't have that baggage.
Correct.
If you're Lamar, you've been MVP. If you're Lamar, every year you've played, you've gotten further in the playoffs. And it's just like, to me, it's like, and people always say he needs an agent, he doesn't need an agent. Like, when it comes to quarterbacks, you're slotted. Your performance kind of puts you where it needs to be. Like, I don't think the Bengals are going to be like, Joe Burrow, you're not worth $50 million. Like, Joe Burrow's going to get what he wants. Jalen Hurts.
What a fascinating offseason, as Herbert, Hurts, and Burrow are all in line for their deals. Their strike it rich, generational wealth deals. Are you still gaming? You still doing that in your spare time? What are you doing?
I'm not doing. I'm coaching high school ball.
Okay.
Coaching youth football. My oldest son's going to high school next year. My youngest one plays youth. So I'm knocking that out.
What type of coach are you? What are you coach are you? What are you?
I'm one that I try to give answers to every problem. I try to be a fair coach, but I'm hard. I'm tough.
You are?
Oh yeah, tough.
Bieniemy tough?
Not as tough.
Is he the toughest or what?
It was so funny at the combine. I hang out with him every year and get to sit down with him. You don't really understand it in that time. I was 17 to 20, so I didn't really understand it, like why he would challenge me, and I felt like everything I did wasn't right. But when over time, you start to look like, oh, no wonder it's like that. Like his expectation for you is unrealistic, but he's going to hold you to that because he knows that if you reach it, you have the potential of being all pro, whatever you want to be. And so I'm excited to see him run the offense. He ran a lot of our meetings when I was in college. He's run an offense before. He ran a lot of the meetings in Kansas City.
I'm sure. And there was a feature on the Vikings offense years ago. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Adrian Peterson was the MVP, and behind the scenes, and Bieniemy was in Peterson's grill and lit him up. And I turned to Marshall, who was sitting, a couple seats away from me on the game day morning desk, and I looked at him, and he just looked at me and he just nodded his head. He goes, "That's him. That's Bieniemy." That's
day.
what he said to me. That's him.
I remember we in my sophomore year we went to Washington. I rushed for 326 yards. So I come back in the meeting on Sunday or Monday, whenever the meeting was, and I'm excited because normally we watch the whole tape. Right, so I'm like, I'm about to, we're going to see him break down. I want to hear what he says about this. Right,
and this is in college.
This is in college, yes.
Right. Maurice Jones-Drew back here on the Rich Eisen Show in the midst of telling a story about Eric Bieniemy when he was your college
running backs coach.
You just ran for how many yards in Washington?
326.
Oh, that's a lot of yards.
Yeah, we set a record.
Okay.
We get back in the meeting room. He shows all the negative plays, and was like, "We could have rushed for 500, but you missed this, and this."
You did.
Oh yeah.
You missed the hole.
I missed the hole. Missed the reads.
Was he right?
Like, oh yeah, he was right. But again, during the game he was like, "Good job," but then he was like, "This is what perfection looks like, right? When you get to the next level, you can't miss this read. You can't do these certain things." And so, I'm like I said, I'm really excited because they're going to have a different mindset in Washington. It's going to be a completely different mindset. They're going to be challenged, and then the other part is you're going against a really good defense day after day, right? So the standard and how things will be, looked at and how the expectation is, we'll see if they rise to it.
Certainly if they've got Lamar Jackson as their quarterback.
Oh, I was going to say, that's another
That's the spot.
That is the spot.
Where if I am the Washington Commanders, that's the spot. Everybody in the Mid-Atlantic already knows Lamar. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves Lamar in the Mid-Atlantic. You go and you give Lamar what he wants. It costs you 2 ones, and go for it. That's it. You give up, the 16th overall pick in the draft, and then next year's one?
Oh, that's easy.
You were the one kicking the tires on Russ, Rodgers last off, so you were kicking the tires on everybody and then settled. That's the only way to put it. I'm sorry, for Carson Wentz. That didn't work out.
Go get
You're
Lamar.
hoping Sam Howell's your guy. I get it. That's the spot. And you tell Bieniemy, here you go, with McLaurin and Samuel and
a bunch of running backs. And
Brian Robinson had a terrific rookie year.
Oh, man.
Right? Don't you think?
Antonio Gibson? Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
To me, that's the ideal place. That's where, if I'm Lamar, that's where I want to go.
Wouldn't you?
I would. It's right down the street. And you have, the other thing is, Baltimore has arguably the best defense, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, but one of the best defense in the league. Washington does too, quietly. They have a really good defense.
They can hit you.
And they can get after you.
And Chase Young hardly played last year.
And all of a sudden, like, you get a mobile quarterback, your running game is more explosive.
Yeah.
Your passing game opens up because Lamar can take off.
That's the spot. If I was
and he's
them,
out of the AFC.
Yeah. That's the spot. I got Maurice Jones-Drew here on the Rich Eisen Show. Why aren't the Raiders all over Aaron Rodgers? Why aren't they? Why wouldn't they be? It makes so much sense, don't you think? I mean, you want to get back. You're seeing the division won by the same team every year, and they just won the Super Bowl, and they got Mahomes. You got the Chargers. They're a Herbert quarterback team. Russ has got his guy in Sean Payton. You're hosting the Super Bowl. You've got Devontae Adams. Go get Aaron Rodgers.
I just don't. When you look at the Raiders and you look at kind of how they're piecing this organization up, it seems like it's New England West, right? They're going to get guys that they're comfortable with, guys that they know. To me, you're looking more at a Jimmy Garoppolo type situation there. I'm just telling you because, yeah, they went and got Devontae, and that was amazing. That was a Carr kind of push situation. I think they both wanted to make it work, and it was working.
Yeah, so get the guy who's played with them between college and
you would think
now.
so.
Get the guy who showed you how dynamic it is. Like literally the best quarterback wide receiver combination of the last 5 years.
Do
we
they
can
have the
argue
money
more.
to take him? Do they have the money to handle it?
How much was Carr?
I think Carr was 40.
Carr wasn't cheap.
Yeah, I think it might have been like 30 or 40.
Carr wasn't cheap.
Rodgers is what, like 60 this year?
I'm not saying it's plug and play here, but let's go.
I would
Right?
love as a Raiders fan growing up, I would love for Aaron Rodgers to be there. I just think
it makes sense.
It makes sense, but I think if you really look at it, Jimmy Garoppolo makes more sense than what they want to do.
With what they want. But I don't understand sometimes how you. I'm going to call you out. I'm sorry, I don't mean to point at you.
Okay.
My wife always says, don't point at people. So you just spent the last 15 minutes saying, damn the torpedoes, you got Lamar Jackson. It's the now.
Yeah.
Win now. That's what I'm going to do. When I said to you, if an owner signs Lamar to that big contract and they look at you at the next owners meeting and say, what gives? You say, I'm trying to win.
Right.
So, and I know that you're not talking about how we're winning. You're just talking about we're winning.
Right.
But that doesn't apply to McDaniels. And I understand it's his gig. It's his job. It's his situation. He's got his hand-picked guy shopping for the groceries. Aaron Rodgers sitting right there. You know? Like, if you're Mark Davis, you don't sit there and call him in and just say, explain to me one more time why this is the way we're doing it. I would if I was the owner of the Raiders.
Yeah, I thought that they shouldn't have released Carr, to be honest with you. To me, you can win with Carr and win at a high level with him. He's been to the playoffs. He took the Raiders to the playoffs one year, got hurt. Last year,
Carr was lucky to get back on the plane from Pittsburgh.
I remember it wasn't the best.
They might have Lane Kiffined him on the tarmac back in McCarran Airport.
It wasn't good, or
whatever it's called now.
But no, to me, it's okay if you're cutting Carr for cost, right? Which they're saying we're cutting him because the money, and which is fine. Then you have to then justify why you're getting Aaron Rodgers.
Because he's Aaron Rodgers, and he's available.
I understand that.
The same way that
is he available? Is he available? Because
you could take him to dinner if you want. If you're Mark Davis, you can take him to dinner. I mean, obviously, he's open for.
I think he's just open to the Jets. I don't think it's everyone.
Why wouldn't he be open to Las Vegas, Nevada?
I don't know.
And play with Devontae Adams again. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
I mean, you'd have Devontae Adams.
He heard all the fans when he's walking around the Pro-Am there up in Pebbles saying, "Come." He knows the fans are in on him.
I don't know. It just seems weird to me that the Jets were the only team that kind of went after it and they were granted that opportunity, because the Packers still have to say, okay, we're willing to deal him to you,
He's
right?
cheaper in terms of draft compensation than Lamar. That's for sure.
Yeah. But the thing with Lamar is he's 26. So I have I can get 10 years out of Lamar.
So you could draft your next guy, 7th overall.
Right.
And have him grow with Rodgers while Aaron lives out his football days as a Raider.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. No, but he doesn't run the system. Jimmy G fits. Really? We're going to go there?
That's what
we're going there. That's
what I'm hearing.
In McDaniels and in Patriots West, we trust.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing
the same thing, by the way.
That's why it's like it's. I would love to have Aaron Rodgers, but when you hear the rumors and the different things that we heard at the combine and throughout
about what?
It's just like Jimmy Garoppolo's a great fit for them. Like that's who they want. They want Jimmy's cheaper than Carr probably and Rodgers.
I'm sure.
And they feel like they could build a better team around him. I wouldn't. At the end of the day, I'll be honest with you. There's two parts of me that say you draft a quarterback every 4 years, and you then trade the one you get because it's cheaper that way.
Yeah, sure.
But then the problem is you may draft the wrong guy, which we've seen happen multiple times.
Yeah.
And if you draft the wrong guy, we're all out of this thing.
That's why the Jets are in on Aaron Rodgers right now.
Exactly right. Why you have to be careful in that draft process of, we'll just draft and sit a guy because we don't even know what Jordan Love is for the Packers. That's why the Packers are still sitting there waiting on Aaron Rodgers.
I think we know what Jordan Love is.
Do we?
Yes, he's the next first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Yes, that's where he goes. And I know my tongue's firmly planted in cheek, but you saw a couple times, man. I know, and it was garbage time to use the Marv Albert phrase, but you could see he could spin it. And if you're Green Bay, you also want him to grow old with these young guys that you've drafted. Like, it kind of makes sense right now for them to part ways. I just don't understand why the Raiders are not tripping all over themselves to take Aaron Rodgers to dinner. And if your answer to that question is it's just not the way Josh McDaniels likes to do things, it is something that I have to sit here and question.
Are they close, though? Do you think the Raiders are close?
To what?
To winning a championship.
Closer?
I think the Jets are closer. I think the Jets are closer. The Jets
haven't made the playoffs in my son's lifetime, and he's 12.
They haven't.
Seriously, the Raiders made it with Carr, with the Mayock drafted team 2 years ago and gave Burrow a scare at home.
But they don't have a top defense like the Jets do, right? They have weapons.
They have players.
They just doesn't work. They don't.
So you're saying it's a better choice to go to New York for Rodgers than to.
Because if you're going to win now, you're going to need the team around you. Aaron Rodgers won with a top 5 defense.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to need a team there to be around you. And I think there's a better team right now in place in New York than there is in
And Rodgers would know it because that defense put the bang thing on him last year.
Yeah, and they're and they're a year better.
Maurice Jones-Drew here in the Rich Eisen Show studio. Okay, you mentioned moments ago you were on a team where players weren't paid within the organization and others were brought in, and that created a rift in the locker room. Do you want to identify which team this is?
I think it was only one team. It was Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, you were at the Raiders too. I don't know.
But I was out of it part of the fracturing.
Who didn't get paid in Jacksonville?
Well, so we had Khalif Barnes, who was our left tackle.
Yes.
And we had Mike Peterson, who was our starting middle linebacker, who were up for deals or coming close to being up for deals. And we had just made the playoffs, made a run to Pittsburgh twice. We felt like we were a receiver away and another DB away. And so instead of taking care of the guys at home, we went into free agents. We got Joey Porter and Drayton Florence. Joey Porter gets hurt, doesn't play, but then Drayton plays. And he plays a lot, and he plays well. But the problem was we have guys that have been in this locker room, right, that you see as leaders, that the captain of your defense, our left tackle, who at the time was blocking Dwight Freeney by himself. And those guys are unhappy, right? Because they're not getting – I think Khalif was on his last year of his rookie deal, and Mike Peterson was like coming up on his second or third deal.
So these guys were still on the team.
Oh, yeah, they're on the team.
Not paid.
Right.
Saw other guys come in and get paid. And now I can understand why that would be an issue in the locker room. And so that's the way I'm setting up something to trigger my friend Chris Brockman over there, because he thinks Daniel Jones should not have been paid what he got paid. And Saquon gets franchise tagged. And we had Albert Breer, our former colleague from the NFL Network and NFL Media Group, on here, and he was saying part of the reason why the Giants did this was to show people in the locker room, you do well here, you get paid.
So my question is, what is well, though? 15 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns?
Chris, he's in your camp.
I'm just saying.
He's in your camp.
Have a teammate.
He's in your camp.
I just don't know what well is. And maybe I think they got put between a rock and a hard place because they didn't have a fifth-year option. They wanted to kind of keep the team together. And I don't disagree with paying Daniel Jones.
It could be that too, though. I mean, Daniel's a leader. You just said, hey, there were leaders in the locker room.
I agree.
Who didn't get paid. And
I think Saquon gets paid. It's just he's a placeholder right now. The franchise has a placeholder.
So. Yeah,
I would hope so too.
Make sure that they can still talk past Wednesday.
Exactly.
Next week.
The thing with Daniel Jones is when you pay quarterbacks big money, you're allocating a lot of resources to that one person, right? Not even to the room, just to that one person.
Thus Lamar.
But
you know what I mean?
But this is the difference, though.
Okay.
When things don't go right and things aren't going well and they're not perfect, you have to then be exceptional, right? You have to be able to cover up said stink. I think Lamar has done that. And
he covers up stink better than Daniel Jones.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And so all this, like Daniel Jones didn't have wide receivers. So everything has to be perfect around him in order for us to get.
He torched the Vikings, MJD. He torched them.
The Vikings literally just cut everyone on defense and fired the DC. Like, yeah. I mean, the Vikings, he did. And I'll say that. He won that playoff game, and I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But Saquon ran them to the playoffs. Like, so it's kind of like.
What would you say the Giants should have done? Not pay him, let him go back into them?
I just think the price was too high. That's my personal opinion.
But it had to be that high for them because otherwise they would have had a franchise tag him, and then there would have been maybe an issue with Saquon. I think
if he'd have hit free agency, he'd have came right back.
Did you listen to any of the show this week?
No, I didn't.
We were saying the exact same thing.
Go ahead, have the floor.
No, my floor is already being mopped up by MJD and his beautiful points. Like, you don't have to, hey, Daniel Jones, oh, you want how much? Excuse me, go get it. And when you don't get it, come right back and we'll give you, 4 for 100 or 4 for 110. And then we can go on and keep building what we're building here. But $160 million?
You're a Giants fan.
No, he's not.
I'm not a Giants
but
fan.
he's.
Oh, you're a Patriots fan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to win a playoff game in the next 4 years with Daniel Jones?
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Playoffs are different. They may win one.
There you go.
But what's going to happen
But
is
you're not paying him to win one.
But this was going to happen. They're going to win. They're going to win a chance. They'll win a game, and then they'll run into the Eagles or they'll run into the Niners, and they'll get blown out like it did. And that's where you'll be. That's just that's my personal opinion on it.
All due respect to the Vikings and the point you just made, they're paying this guy because he beat the team we all thought were the biggest frauds all year long.
I don't know about that now. That's a tough one.
You got a quarterback over there with the Vikings that can't win the big one on primetime. He has to be like playing with everyone. So we'll see.
He can win the 1 o'clock games.
He's 1 o'clock is crazy. I'm just, and I understand this as from a GM's perspective. You want to keep your players, but it has to be at a price. It has to be at a price because if I'm paying you $40 million,
so why can't Eric DeCosta have that approach? Because he is having that approach.
And
we love your guys at a price. $230 million guaranteed is too steep for him and Steve Bisciotti.
And I'm not upset with that. But the difference is they're allowing Lamar to go out and talk to other people. The Giants are like, oh, we're just no. Daniel Jones is it for us. No, that's not true.
Do you want to hug him right now? Because this is basically you.
I'm just glad
in Maurice Jones-Drew
all these Giants
clothing.
fans in my mentions all week. First off, they think I'm a Washington fan for some reason, but
no.
Understand? I'm glad I have a teammate on this. Thank you.
I think there's more people that understand this too, but it's a. Mm-hmm. I think it's separate with Lamar and Daniel Jones. It's a different situation because again, Daniel Jones is his first year actually being like decent. But other years, he led the league in turnovers.
Oh, no. There's no question.
This is like the first year
but
that
the
he's
Giants
been
also, come on, man. The Giants had Joe Judge giving him,
I can't do anything about that, man.
Taking knees on third down. Like
that was terrible.
Defeat formations, that's what he's, and Pat Shurmur and then him. Now he's got a coach of the year.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is coach of the year because of the way Daniel Jones looked in many ways. Okay, and the way and the moves he made and the way he was coaching that entire team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, I'm just saying everyone has a ceiling, and I think if you look at Lamar's ceiling and then you look at Daniel Jones, it's not even close.
Maurice Jones-Drew, thank you for coming in here.
No problem, man.
Let's chop this up more often.
Yes, I'm definitely
coming here. We're chopping it up.
I love it.
Me too.
Shout out. Yeah, Daniel Jones should have never got that brag, but no disrespect.
Thank you.
No, you got to say no disrespect
first
before you say it. You can't
because
it's like you took your finger off the chess piece.
Your move
has been made.
Yeah, I messed it up.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.